Another provision we like to include in our documents is the ability to give a person the opportunity to make a separate list of certain items of tangible personal property to go to certain specified people. And this list is a great way. If a client comes to you with every piece of jewelry provided for, every yellow pie plate, the person that just hangs a lot of sentimental value on their tangibles, and there are a lot of these people out there, rather than updating the will every time they buy a new knickknack, what you can do, and this is not legally enforceable in some states, but nevertheless, you can provide that the executor should follow the wishes that are outlined, again, in a separate list. The list, you should remind your client, should be kept with the will. So we always know we have the current copy. It should be signed and dated, so we know it's the most recent version. And it should not, stress this to your clients. This is only for small items of tangible personal property. You cannot make a cash gift. You cannot make any large gift. You shouldn't give your Van Gogh away in a separate tangible memorandum. It's a bad idea, largely because, again, it's not enforceable in many jurisdictions. You're not really putting the same execution requirements in this tangible personal property memorandum. Remember I said the client should just sign and date it. Well, that's very different than the execution and signature requirements for a will. So we don't want to make it anything big because that would get around the statute of wills, which we'll discuss later on in our presentation.
I'm always overwhelmed by how few people have estate plans. And I know the numbers are around 50% of people over the age of probably 40 or 50 have estate plans. But I would have thought that, especially among parents who travel without their children from time to time, I would have thought that among, people who live in metropolitan areas or what have you that have better access to information, those statistics would be a little higher. And I find that they're not. Do people really know how bad it is to die without a will? Do people know how bad it is if they leave their children on this earth and they don't provide a guardian? I do, and maybe that's why I'm just astounded by how few people actually get a good estate plan done.
Let's get on now to what specific bequests of tangible personal property look like. So you've got your main tangible personal property provision that makes a blanket gift of all your tangibles, all your frequent flyer miles, all the kitchen sink to beneficiary A, and if beneficiary A is not around, then you've got a backup beneficiary. You may have a provision that provides for a separate memorandum, and you may also have, above and different from that, you may have some separate specific gifts. So there's a gift off the top maybe of a bracelet to Jane. And when you draft these specific gifts, make them very detailed. So you could have said, and I give my sterling silver Tiffany & Company heart tag bracelet, you could have just said, I give my sterling silver bracelet to Jane. And that wouldn't have been as good. You need to be as detailed as you possibly can. And you need to really quiz the client. Do you have more than one heart tag bracelet? Is there any way that we could differentiate them? There's a lot of confusion in this area, so be really specific. Another example that we have here, I give my black 2006 Mercury Grand Marquis to my son John Doe. Now what this doesn't say is I give my car to my son. And guess what? If you didn't own that 2006 Mercury Grand Marquis, I bet it's on its last leg right now, and if it's gone, John doesn't get any car. So when you're walking through some of these specific gifts with your client, ask them things like, well, do you want, go a little bit more broad and go a little bit more narrow, right? So say, well, would you want John to have any car or any Mercury car? Or, sort of quiz the client on what exactly it is that John should get, because drafting with specificity in this area is really important.